Hi, Clint Coons here with Anderson Business Advisors, and in this session I'm going to discuss where your tenant should pay rent when you're using a land trust. Because most people who set up land trusts, they get this nagging question after their structure is set up: what do I tell my tenants? Well, the answer is it depends. It really depends on who is the beneficiary of your land trust and where that beneficiary is located. So let me show you something. Most of us, when we set up a land trust here, we understand that we want asset protection. So if anything happens with the trust that we've created, oh, that pen's going bad. Anything that happens with the trust that we've created, that we ourselves are not going to be sued. So I've got my land trust, and I want to make sure that I have asset protection. So in turn, I create a limited liability company down here that holds my beneficial interest in the trust. And of course, you will be the member of that limited liability company. Possibly you're also going to be the manager of that LLC, depending on how it's set up. But anyways, so you have some tenants up here that are renting this property from you. Now, could you direct them to pay rents to the trust? Absolutely. But if you did that, then you're going to need to open up a bank account in the name of your trust. And here's where you might run into some problems. If you've set up the trust with a nominee trustee, where when you look at the trust document, it says Clint Coons is the trustee of this trust, and then I've resigned and I've appointed you as the trustee. Well, when you bring that document into the bank, if they request a copy of it, it's going to create confusion. They're going to say, where's Clint? Who is this Clint guy? All right, do we need to talk to him? And then you show them my resignation. And maybe that's not sufficient. So it can create problems trying to get that account set up. Depends on the bank and the understanding of the individual with whom you're working. So many times I just tell people, do not open a bank account for your trust. Better way to do it is to look at who is the beneficiary. Now, if this property was located in Oregon and the LLC is an Oregon LLC, so the property and the LLC are both located in the same state, then what I would do is I would direct my tenants to pay rent to the limited liability company. I'd send them a letter. I would say, henceforth, the property management has been taken over by XYZ LLC, and you're to direct you to pay all rents to the name of this LLC going forwards. Now, your LLC, of course, is going to have a bank account. You set it up because when you created your LLC, you're the manager of it, you got an EIN, and so forth. You got the picture. So they would pay directly to the LLC. They're not going to pay the land trust. Now, the wrinkle in this occurs when you've set up an LLC and it's not located in the same state where the property is located. So if this is Oregon property, this might be a Wyoming limited liability company. And this is a strategy I use quite regularly for clients that have real estate in states such as California that want to charge you $800 a year for this limited liability company. I'd prefer to set it up in a state that charges you, like Wyoming, $50 a year. So we want to save them some money there on the annual maintenance costs. So let's assume that we've got this Oregon LLC, Oregon land trust that is, into a Wyoming LLC. Now we cannot simply direct the tenants to pay rent to this out-of-state LLC because the state law of Oregon would require that we register this limited liability company in Oregon. What they're going to say is, hey, your LLC in Wyoming, it's doing business here by transacting with the tenants, so it's got to get registered here. You can't operate this way. So that's going to bring it into Oregon. And if you set it up in Wyoming, one of the benefits is anonymity. That's shot. Another benefit is asset protection. Once you register it in Oregon, that's shot. So we really don't want this LLC touching Oregon because we lose the benefits that Wyoming offers when we create it there. So here's what you have to do. You need to come in and you need to create an Oregon company to manage your real estate. And so in this case, I'll typically recommend people create a corporation here that serves as a property manager. So your corporation now will deal with your tenants. And if you think about it, let's say that you had multiple land trusts set up in Oregon. Now, of course, they're not going to all go into the same LLC. All right, watch my segment on how many land trusts you should have versus your properties and LLCs. That's real important to understand all of this works. But for this purposes of this video, what I want you to understand is that if I have all these Oregon land trusts created, I will have this corporation dealing with all of the tenants. So I will direct my tenants to pay rent to this corporation. They all get letters, say going forwards, henceforth, the corporation has assumed the management role of the property and you're now to pay rent to the corporation. So the corporation then will collect the money from each of the properties. That will come into the corporation. So it's registered to do business in Oregon, and then it's going to remit whatever's left after it pays all the expenses associated with the property back to the respective LLC that is the beneficiary of the land trust. Now, if this seems a little confusing to some of you, think on it this way. If you hired an out-of-state property manager to manage your real estate, say it's in Florida, they're going to do the exact same thing. They're typically going to be an LLC or a corporation. If you had 10 properties in Florida, they'd collect all the rents from those properties, then they're going to send you whatever's left after they paid all your bills. We're doing the exact same thing, where it's a mirror image of what you would do with an out-of-state property management company, except you're keeping it in-house. My name's Clint Coons with Anderson Business Advisors.